Hi, I am Bill Hodges, and this is our Spotlight on Government show. And with me, I have a longtime friend and somebody that probably was one of the first people I interviewed 20 years ago, Sandy Murman. Sandy, glad to have you on the program.
Oh, it's great to be here. Always good to see you, Bill.
Let's tell people a little bit about Sandy Murman. I know that you were a state legislator, I think the first time that I interviewed you.
Yes.
And from that point on, you've gone on to a variety of offices. And now you're in what district of the county commission?
District 1, that's everything west of 75. And everything touches the water in my district. So it comes around all of South Tampa. I do have half of West Tampa. I go all the way up through Town and Country, West Chase, Odessa, Keystone.
That's a pretty good sized area, but you can stay on the water, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it helps me, especially with when emergencies come about, like hurricanes. I've got a real good communication system put together where we just send out every bit of information that comes out, just to keep people informed about hurricane preparedness. I do a big I go around my whole district and I hold like seminars and webinars to help people get prepared. So that's the one common thread throughout my district, and I'm able to help a lot of people with getting ready for a hurricane.
You know, one of the things I guess some people have told me that you're running for an office outside of the BOCC. That's not true, correct?
That's not true. I am running for a countywide commission seat this year.
Okay, so we'll still have you on the commission, just in a different chair.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I remember back in '08 when everything plummeted. Tax revenues went down. We were going along so beautifully, higher and higher home prices. Tax revenues were coming in like mad. And all of a sudden, boom. And it seems to me that in March of this year, it did the same thing. How is the county preparing for what inevitably is going to be a shortfall in money coming in?
Well, actually, we just had our big budget reconciliation meeting last Thursday, and we are definitely hurting, not financially so much, but the proceeds from the tax revenues that come into the county. So, and the one area, not property tax actually funds the major portions of our budget, but the sales tax.
Right.
And as you know, tourism has taken a beating with the COVID crisis, and hotels, airports. I mean, all the sports venues and sports games that are played, portions of those revenues, sales tax, come into the county. That's not here this year. So we're having to make some adjustments. Luckily, we have very healthy reserves at the county. We have a AAA bond rating that we're very proud of. Unlike other counties where they may, during the recession, they had to cut their employees. They had to cut their payroll. They had to do so much to reduce the size of their government to match what the revenues they were getting for the recession. Well, we didn't ever have to do that. We had no layoffs. Mike Merrill, our county administrator, who has since retired at the end of June.
He did a great job for a lot of years.
Mike was a master at numbers. He knew how to keep our county going very smoothly. He had a good team around him. They all worked together. But to keep a AAA bond rating during a recession, during a pandemic, I mean, that's remarkable for any county.
That's for sure.
And we do have long-serving people at the county that they can take early. We have offered early retirement as a way to help us with our budget. I don't know that we're going to do that this year, but we don't anticipate any layoffs. We don't anticipate any reduction in services, but that's for this coming budget that will start in October. So we're good for the next year. It's the spillover effects. People that aren't able to make their mortgage payments, we might start to see signs of a recession. Home prices may fall somewhat. And so I think we're preparing for the worst. but we have a great base and a great foundation in our budget, and that's our reserves, the great people we have managing our finances, I think are really the big key to our success.
Well, this is such a unique situation. Of course, nobody alive probably has ever seen anything quite like this, because we're not looking at some kind of mismanagement that screwed things up to start with. It's a virus that struck us, and maybe we didn't do everything we should have done to protect ourselves from it. But the fact is, a shot in the arm could make it go away. So it's not the same kind of thing as the housing crisis, which, boom, it's destroyed and it takes years to come back from. We've got a situation here where uniquely a shot in the arm might change everything.
Absolutely. We definitely need a vaccine. I've said my priority is to keep our citizens healthy and safe. And of course, we have protests on top of the pandemic and now the effects on the budget. So we're having that perfect storm situation. I just hope the hurricanes stay far away.
Fortunately, the one that's going through at the time we're recording this is staying offshore for right now.
Absolutely. Very happy. We seem to dodge the bullet every single year. But we really feel that we've got a good base, good foundation for a lot of success in Hillsborough County. But there will be some spillover effects in later budgets that will affect, and we're actually projecting deficits in some of our budget categories because of the loss of revenues. We thought that the sales tax loss of revenue was going to last 2 months. I remember, we shut down in March, and we anticipated to be back in operation in May. That didn't occur. June, then the numbers start skyrocketing again. So I think, and especially with all the policies we're putting in place, it's really to keep people safe. We don't want our residents getting this virus. And if you know anybody that's had it, they will absolutely tell you, you do not want to get this virus.
And it's not over when you get out of the hospital. The problem, they're talking about children. If children get it, they can have lifelong disabilities as a result of it. They may not have huge problems right now, but heart and liver and all kinds of things can be created because they have problems with this particular disease.
Right. There was a doctor on TV just this morning with Fox 13, and he said that 75% of the patients that have had COVID have some long-lasting effect. Many of them have heart problems after they've had this.
Right.
A lot of them, the energy levels, all those different things that the effects of the virus, but about 75% have long-lasting effects. You do not want to get it. Let's just say this. And I always say, wear your mask, watch your distance, and really just, take care to not be in big groups.
Yeah, and they're talking about big groups being 10 now. You want to stay out. And honestly, since March, I think I've been to Costco twice early on, and we went out to dinner once. And I've learned to do all of our videos and my radio show, Veterans Corner, from right here in my office. I have a green screen set up, and away we go.
Good for you. So you've managed to get around it, but it's not going away. Our numbers are starting to look like they might be getting a little lower, but still, when you're at an average of 475 to 500 a day, that's still high. We still have high numbers, and we're going to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe, whether we have a hurricane, whether we have a COVID crisis or any other pandemic. Our Emergency Operations Center will really kick into gear. They've got solid plans. The testing sites, we have more testing sites than any county in the state of Florida right now, which is really a credit to your county coming to the plate and really saying we're going to put testing sites together so that citizens can get tested.
The problem is, Sandy, getting tested is one thing. Getting the results back is a whole different game. I had one person wait 8 days.
Right.
And if they came back negative, but if they came back positive, they would have had 8 days that they would have been interfacing with a whole lot of other people. So we really do. Testing's great, but we have to return that testing into being able to give early warnings to people.
Right. So they do have a new, and I'm glad you asked that question because they do have a new testing. They have transitioned over to a new testing that will give results back in 2 days
Good.
or less. And not at every site, but at the county community resource centers and the stadium, the Raymond James Stadium, they will have those available.
That's
It's
going to be
more of a
great.
rapid test. And that's through the state. Our governor has been very helpful in getting us our supplies, whatever we need.
You know, it's interesting here in Florida, where I came out of Ohio years ago, and we had 19 cities in one county. I mean, it just every little nook and cranny decided to become a city. Where here in Florida, their cities are actually few and far between. What do we have? 3 in Hillsborough County that are actually cities,
Right. We have the city of Tampa, Temple Terrace, and Plant City.
and that's it. Brandon
That's
is
it.
not a city. Sun City is not a city. Apollo Beach is not a city. And people really, a lot of the Northerners who've come down here and haven't lived here long, don't realize that.
Right.
So, how do you feel right now? You and the county and the city of Tampa, which is the biggest stakeholder, are you feeling a good ability to work back and forth with them?
Oh, I think so. We've always had a great relationship with the city. We do many things with them. Technology, parks. We partner a lot on our parks. We try and stay like when we have emergencies, we try to stay on the same page with announcements to our citizens. Whereas before, previous mayor, he kind of, Bob Buckhorn, he would like to kind of get ahead of the game and shut us down. Well, you can't shut down. I mean, it's actually in Florida statutes what the procedure is for declaring a declaration of emergency, any kind of making people leave their homes, that type of thing.
The city of Tampa being the largest stakeholder in the county, how well does the Board of County Commissioners work with their city council?
Oh, well, they're our primary partner. And of course, our buildings are like it's 3 blocks from each other in downtown Tampa. So it behooves us to, really get along. And we do. We collaborate on everything from emergency management to technology. Our parks work really well together. Affordable housing and social services. Because a lot of citizens don't know this, but the county does all the social services for everybody in Hillsborough County. That's inside the cities and outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. So
You've had I was going to say, you have some things that you've worked on with the homeless too, have you not?
Oh, I have. And during the pandemic, the city did a short-term tent city for homeless people in near downtown. That was a partnership with Catholic Charities. So when they ended that, we kind of got back together with the city. We're still looking at some kind of a service type building that will help serve homeless that need just a place for the evening until they find the apartment that they're going to stay in. And we have Housing First as our major thrust of help for the homeless. And what that means is we're going to get you a home but we're going to give you services, and you have to agree to have those services so you can stay in this home. Job placement, mental health, substance abuse, everything you can imagine. Healthcare is a huge issue with homeless. So, and we have received a great deal of new funding from Washington to use for homeless. And we have a great plan. It's called the 560 plan. And that is to put 560 chronic homeless people into units where they can live within 1 year. And we are already halfway through that, even during this pandemic. So we're extremely successful on the homeless front. We are really down to our homeless count reveals where we stand every year. And that's mandated by the federal government that we count our homeless every single year. So what happens after we get that count, then we look at our plans to see, do we have enough plans in place to house these people? Because we want them all to have housing. We don't want them to survive in temporary shelters in tent cities and all that. In fact, I feed downtown the homeless a couple of days a week at one of the churches downtown. And there I got to meet some of the homeless. I can believe this one gentleman, his name was Christian. He was about 23 years old. His parents basically threw him out of the house. He he needs new employment. But we got him into an apartment right away. The guy is thriving. I mean, we've got services to help him get employment through Career Source. And then another gentleman I met who was a veteran. I said, sir, we have places for veterans to stay if you're homeless. We don't want
Yes, if we can get
our
them to go there.
right. We don't want veterans to be homeless in our community, especially after they've served our country. I mean, that's just bizarre that we would even have that problem still. And we've gotten him into a place to stay. So we've got solutions. And you know me, Bill, I'm a very action-oriented individual. I like to I'm a problem solver. And I really work hard and I get the job done. And that really kind of says it on that. Now, my experience with Career Source has been being on that board has been great because we kind of renovated the whole Career Source Tampa Bay after they went through all that big mess that they went through with the former CEO.
Right.
And we are now providing good paying jobs to people across our county. And actually, I started a program for summer youth employment at 1,500 youth getting their first summer job through an outstanding employer, some of the employers that we work with at the county and through Career Source. And this is amazing. These kids are getting these opportunities to see business here in Hillsborough County, not the streets, not out making trouble. And so I'm really happy about that and like to talk about that a lot because I still think jobs are a critical need in our county.
Oh, yes.
Always. I mean, we still have about 25,000 people moving here every single year. And those people are looking for jobs. So we want to make sure they have a good paying job so that they don't fall back on county government, city government in a way that might strap our taxpayers. So it's important. I think that's just a very important element of what
Jobs, housing, and transportation. The three go hand in hand. If you don't have a decent job with a decent paycheck, you can't live in the city of Tampa.
right.
Look at the cost of a single, just a studio apartment
Mm-hmm.
in the city of Tampa right now. You've got to have a pretty decent job to be able to afford it.
Exactly. And affordable housing has been another area where we've made dramatic improvements. We now have $10 million going into that housing fund every single year that will guarantee a lot of people will have housing and workforce housing, people that need, our police, our firefighters, our nurses, our teachers that don't make a great deal of money, but they'd like to have the American dream and live in a house. So,
well, you'd like to keep them in the city of Tampa if at all possible so they don't have to have long transportation rides back and forth.
well, and we are solving the transportation problem. That's kind of gotten off kilter again because we're waiting for the Supreme Court to make their decision on whether that tax will pass or they'll let us continue to. The citizens are still paying for that sales tax. It's just not coming to our county government. It's being held by the clerk. So, but it's interesting. The more people I talk to, they want their roads fixed more than anything. They want their roads paved. They want sidewalks. They want better access to job centers and things like that. you and I both know, my family was in Apollo Beach. You've been in Sun City a long time. The transit's not going to be a big deal for South County anytime soon. It's
No,
just
it runs now. No.
right. Um, I'd like for it to be, and I fought for it when I was on Hart, but the funding for transportation is just not readily available right now. So we're waiting on the Supreme Court to act. If they don't, we have to go back to the drawing board and see how are we going to get all these roads done. But it's my top priority, has to be, because that's what the citizens are telling me.
My, and this is my personal feeling. It doesn't
Mhm.
relate to the station or anything else, but I've looked at some cities like Seattle or Salt Lake City.
Mhm.
If you take a bus or any kind of transit within the limits of that city, you don't pay a nickel. You
Right,
get on it, you ride where you have to go. And I was thinking of all the people who have low paying jobs who can afford now to get back and forth to work. Uh, we put a lot of money into transportation, we put a lot of money into roads and all those things. I think we could take a lot of people off if we had a good, reliable transportation system that was, and I hate to use the word free because nothing's free, and I understand that,
right,
but we're spending money on all these other things that could be channeled into it and maybe break the dependence on the single person riding in the single car in the traffic. I won't even go to downtown Tampa, not during the day at least, because
right,
I just don't want to get into that traffic. You get
right,
on I-75 and try to get off of Route 4 onto I-75 or 275, and you can sit in that traffic for the longest time just to
right.
get into that particular area. Uh,
No, we definitely want to reduce gridlock. We want to reduce the congestion. It's a priority. I got, successfully Big Bend is going to be improved. Apollo Beach Boulevard's going to be extended all the way from 41 to 301. We're looking at 19th Avenue. I'm talking about roads in South County. A lot of the roads, though, around in South County actually are state roads.
yeah,
674, 301, 41. So we're not able to do much with that. So we've just got to make sure that as developments go up, that the right infrastructure is in place.
unfortunately, there seems to be very little communication between the people and the people who are building these things. For instance, the improvements they did on 674, just as one small thing. They put a sidewalk down the whole 674. Now you're talking about a senior community who's not out walking. We're
Right.
not walking. They could
Not
have
in this
made that
heat.
sidewalk 6 feet wide and allowed it to be a golf cart path,
Hmm.
and it would have served the people out here. But they said, well, no, see, that's a state thing, and the county can't do anything about it. But I talked to them very early on the planning. Somewhere along the lines, somebody should have been able to say, it's silly because I'll give you odds, and I've talked to some of our deputies, that people are going to ride their golf carts on that 4 foot path instead
Well,
of
it's
making
not
it
big
big
enough
enough.
for, yeah, it's not big enough for a golf cart. The
No,
sidewalk isn't.
no. Well, but they're going to use it. I'll guarantee it. And the sheriff looks at it and says, wait a minute, will I make these people mad? Nobody else is using it. So why not let the golf carts on it?
Right,
Even
right.
though it's not a golf cart path. There is one other thing talking about homeless I'd like to drop back to, and it has to do with this coronavirus situation and
Hmm.
what's going on with it. I talked with Guido, head of the council, and we
Hmm.
began talking about it because there is a ton of evictions sitting out there that if the
Hmm.
governor ever says, no, we're not going to extend the no evictions, there's going to be a lot of people on the streets. Are we prepared for that?
Well, that's a really good point. I think that all this new funding we've gotten from the federal government, we are kind of reserving it to see how that all plays out after that decision is made, which
Okay, so
will
there's a
make
plan
it
in the
permanent.
background for it.
There is a plan to get at least find out who is out there. We have to find out who is out there that needs services or needs a place to live. So that's going to be really important. But we also have our indigent healthcare plan. which is excellent. At least if you are indigent and have no funding, you'll be able to get some health care through Hillsborough County. And that's so important to some people because, when you're unemployed in this pandemic, the stress is, um, you know, it just hits everybody so hard. So we always have that available to our citizens.
We should be coming up on time for us to close this out. Is there
Okay.
one or two last things, maybe in a minute or two, that you'd like to cover that I haven't talked about?
Oh, well, sure. I think there's always things, you know, my, oh, okay, my tenure in public service, and even in the private sector when I first started, has always been for, helping people, expanding any opportunity we can for our citizens so that they can stay here and have a good quality of life and be really proud to say they live in Hillsborough County, but also to just offer my leadership skills to help solve some of the major problems we have, like transportation. I've spent a lot of time with small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of our county.
Yes.
Over 80% of our businesses have 20 or fewer employees. And that's been something that, we developed the Entrepreneurship Collaborative Center. We have done so much for small businesses and provide resources to them. And we have less staff. We do have had the highest job growth, though not now because of the pandemic. But I know when we get out of this, we will be a community that has great paying jobs for our citizens going forward. And I think I'm going to always keep pushing for jobs and recovery of our economy after this pandemic and helping our small businesses. But I'm excited to, focus on some of the things that are important to people and to help our children, help our families. Affordable housing is the American dream. Housing is the American dream. And that's what we want for our citizens. And just focus on our children, give them that great legacy they can have and really want to stay here in Hillsborough County when they graduate from school. And, I just work hard every day and I never give up. Always going to find solutions and, keep my word on really helping people.
Well, speaking of your word, I'd like to have your word you'll come back on with me in a reasonably short period of time.
Absolutely, Bill. This is so easy. I'll be on every week.
Well, Louise is probably listening in, our station manager, so I'm sure she'll follow up with that. Ladies and gentlemen, today on my show, Spotlight on Government, I've had Sandy Murman, one of our BOCC members, and somebody that I've tracked for 20 years. I think you were in the legislature 20 years ago when we first did this. So you've got a long term with public service, and I thank you for what you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, you're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Sandy, thanks for taking the time out of your day.
Bill. Take care of yourself, and it's great to be on your show. Thank you.